was actually born in Pakistan,
Oh shit.
and I ended up coming out here when I was around 5. So I was still really young, but right when my memory is starting to really become a memory, it's like around
Mhm.
that age. So I just remember coming out here, and then growing up, I was always involved on computers regardless. Whether it was music production, like editing videos, like editing Call of Duty videos back in the day and After Effects, and just messing around with just software in general. It's all very similar, whether it's like video or music or whatever it is. They're all pretty similar in terms of the layout and the process. But what struck me towards music was that there's more creativity involved in it. So you can kind of have more fun with it rather than it just feeling like tedious work. And if you lose your project, it's like, damn, if it's a video project, it's like, damn, I'm just gonna have to do all that work again. Where when it's music, it can go a different way and you can just feel different by the time that's done. So there's more hope in it, feels like.
I kind of have a similar background. I was all 4 years of high school. I was in video production classes and stuff like that. I really like that's where I kind of why I had the techniques and stuff to get my podcast started.
Oh yeah.
I do agree though, because I see like musicians. Cause I don't produce myself, but I do see like my friends that produce and people that've been on the show. It's just like it seems like as long as you have an idea, you can kind of take it anywhere. Where like with like video, at least from what I know from like editing video and stuff, it's like you have to have certain scenes and you plan out. It's like way more pre-planning that
Yeah,
goes into video than it
it's
does to music.
straightforward. Yeah, it's just kind of like you're following a blueprint almost.
Yeah.
There's I mean you can still have fun when like do creative stuff in it, but I just felt different doing it. That's how I felt towards music. But basically, as I got into like high school, that's when I started my first DAW, which was FL Studio. I think it was like 8 or 9 or something. But just making loops in that and then trying to figure out how to make beats. I kind of just messed around in high school, not very seriously, but when you're jumping around between these things, you're kind of drawing towards what you like. So I ended up coming back to it and then just getting more familiar with learning how to actually like mix things down and make things sound proper, like learning why things aren't hitting in key, just like learning all the basic stuff that you need to know or what you'd kind of learn if you went to school for it. Just kind of like picked it up either through YouTube or just talking to other producers and like sharing ideas with each other.
How old were
Just
you when you were going through all this?
I was pretty young, honestly. I think I was like I don't know what age it would be, but it was in around 7th or 8th grade where I was like
Okay.
first getting in FL Studio. But when I started going into high school, I'd say maybe like halfway through high school, that's when I ended up really meeting with more producers, spending a lot of my time producing like in class while I was at school. So I ended up downloading Ableton because everybody had Ableton. So it was just
Yeah.
easier to collab and just work with everybody. So I was like, all right, whatever, I'll just learn this DAW. So then I got into the Ableton. But that whole transition was when I went from making trap beats and like hip hop beats, which is what got me
That's
into
what I was gonna ask. Is where you did you
FL.
start with like rap beats and stuff like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's like what was fun to me, making like really ghetto, hard hitting trap beats. Just sounded really fun and getting people to rap on it. But I started leaning towards using more things inside the software, and then just by you messing around more starts to give you like a dubstep beat type of vibe.
Yeah.
So it's like if you start messing around with it enough, it's gonna sound like dubstep. So I'm like, I might as well just go ham with it and just make dubstep because I went to my first show during that whole period of time. It was a Datsik show in
Oh.
Richmond, Michigan. But it was okay in Drezzo, and it was a great show. I had fun there. And then I just wondered the whole time while I was making hip hop beats at the time, I was like, how are they making these sounds? And a buddy of mine was just told me, he kind of inspired me. He's like, yeah, I know you could do it if you tried it. So I just tried doing it. And here I am, however many years later, still using Ableton and having dabbled through like using Logic and Reason and other
Yeah.
programs to get familiar with the language.
What do you like most about Ableton versus the other ones? Since you've learned the other ones, which why did you decide to go with that?
It's the workflow. I feel like everyone says that. It's
Yeah.
just so quick and easy to pump out ideas, and like translating it from your head to the computer is always the hardest part. And it's like the quickest method of doing it, in my opinion. It's not as fun as FL was and like more intuitive, but like once you get Ableton down and you know like how your workflow
It's
is
a
and
lot faster.
it's set, yeah, you can pump through ideas
Yeah.
a lot quicker.
Did you have any idea of what you wanted to do before you decided on music? Because obviously starting in high school and stuff, did you ever have like an idea of like, oh, this is like I'm working on music because I like it and this is fun, but like did you always think about it as a career or did you think about doing
Yeah,
something
when
else
I
and just kind of doing that on the side?
when I thought of it, it's all I wanted to do. I thought of whatever else I had to do was something that I had to do on the side, you know.
That's dope.
But before music, it was either like I said, video editing
Right.
or being involved in making movies, something along the lines of that, or music. And like once I got into it, once I basically invested enough time in it, I'm like, why would I waste all that time I just invested in it? I might as well just continue doing this and just
Yeah.
getting better, you know. So if I'm seeing the results, I might as well just keep grinding at it, and I feel like it eventually pays off, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Time. I mean, especially how old are you now?
I'm 22 now.
22 now. So yeah, that's. I mean, you're already past the 5 year mark. Yeah, it does take a lot of time. I feel like 5 to 10 years is usually what it takes most people to like do make some sort of a name for themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
I've been doing it seriously for, I'd say you could say 5 years, but it was on and off because the last job I had for basically 2 years, it killed my production because I was just slaving hard, working hell hours, not even feeling inspired to do anything when I got home, you know, type of job.
yeah.
The job I have now really balanced it out. So I just kind of kicked back right back into gear of where I left off before I started the last
Where
job.
where were you working?
I was working at a dealership. I was a
Okay,
service writer, so I was just selling services.
got it.
But there's only one other coworker there, and we both did the same thing. So we basically were in charge of the service department for those cars in that whole city, basically. You know, so
Damn.
there's a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
Really
And
neat,
where are
neat
you
people.
originally from? I know you're on the East Coast.
I'm basically I've been lived I like lived all over Northern Virginia, so I'm still in Northern
Got it.
Virginia right now, like 30 minutes from DC.
Okay, cool. Once you decided on like the rack branding and like all that stuff, how did you go about like building the foundation of what your music project is today? How did you decide on the name, like all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, the name I actually had it as my rap beat name, but it was different. It had dots, it had initials between the letters A, R, A, and the K,
Uh-huh.
just to make it obvious that it's my initials. But when I made dubstep, I feel like it just was unnecessary. You know, it just looks shorter and cleaner and simpler when it's smaller. Plus, it'll be bigger on a flyer, you know, and
Yep.
there's less stuff in between.
Yeah.
But like the branding was basically based on the name being my initials, but the
Yep.
actual idea behind it is randomly, I just thought of different ideas that I haven't seen implemented throughout dubstep artists in the industry. And one of them I thought was, or at least if I'm not aware, or to my the best of my knowledge, I know there isn't a mobster or like a mafia themed dubstep act, you know.
Yeah, not that I know. I mean, the closest one maybe would be Hesh, kind of. Because the fuck shit stuff is kind of on that kind of same brand, but
I
like
feel
other
like
than
he's
that,
more like gangster though, you know.
yeah,
Not like
yeah,
that mafia vibe. It's more just like more
right,
like fuck shit, like hood rat type of vibe, you
yeah,
know, just
yeah,
like savage stuff. But yeah, so it's there's visuals and stuff I have in the work now that are help gonna tell that story when I'm playing more shows because I have some visuals now, but it's not definitely not the whole idea I want to send off with the branding. People to see when they hear the music, they can associate it with
right.
what they're seeing, you know. So it'll be cool finally getting that out there. So probably within the next 2 weeks, actually, you might see something on the socials about that.
Is there like a deeper message within your branding at all? I know like a lot of artists have like this is like the main message that I want to spread through my art.
I feel like everything comes down to like inspiring people to just an escape from reality is what basically everyone's answer kind of stands
Right.
towards. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to at the end of the day. Just like sharing the energy, being able to just vibe with people
Yeah.
and being on that same frequency and just like, you know, just like snap out of the matrix for a little bit.
Yeah.
That's it. Like if I can get one person to snap out, like that'll make me happy, you know. It's just like you're not thinking about anything, you're just right there in the moment,
Yeah.
phones away, you're just listening, you're just vibing.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if you listen to trance at all or not, but I know one of my favorite artists, Lane 8, all of his shows, I think they put like a piece of black tape or something on their cameras to where they can't record the set. They can't like be on their phones. They can't do anything. So it's like they force you to be in the moment. So cool.
Yeah, I know some shows they actually do that for other genres. They do
Yep.
that. They tell you like you cannot, you have to like turn in your phones when you go in
Yep.
type of stuff. So yeah, no, that's definitely really pushing that message. But no,
Would
I,
you ever do something like that? Would you ever force
I
people
don't
to put
think
away their
so.
phones?
I don't.
No,
I feel like EDM acts don't have enough power to do that,
that's true.
right?
That's true.
Yeah, we kind of want them to share the moment.
Yeah. Plus, it's good for marketing. So yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, at least like the level some of us are at, whereas like all publicity is good publicity, almost,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Because there's like what really sets you apart is whatever pops up on their feed, you know.
Yep. So I want to go to the time to where because we know you're not everyone, but the people listening are going to learn that you are on the Later Tonight team. And I wanted to go back to like what you were doing before that. Were you producing or playing shows before you started work with them? Obviously you were, but were you playing more local shows, or like what has changed from the beginning before you were with them to now?
Well, in terms of like the music, the production is always going to be there regardless.
Right.
It's like it's either going to be.
What'd you start with first, producing, or were you just a
So it was
DJ?
always producing, and then I got
Okay.
into DJing after I'd actually understood producing, and
Yeah.
definitely played a good part. Like as you can see, I'm Dex now, and it definitely helped knowing production going into mixing was like cake.
Yeah.
It's like way
Yeah.
more simplified and laid out, and it's the same idea, same concept, but it's just like physical. So, but yeah, it's beforehand. There's always just working on music and grinding no matter what. But the people I'd interact with would more be just online, just talk
Okay.
through Discord or talk to them through whatever, and just be more like an online relationship versus now it's still kind of online, but once in a while, once there's a show, like once a week maybe, or a couple times a month,
Yeah.
we'll all link up at that show. One of us will probably be playing, if not more than one. So it's just like hanging out with their homies, just working, but it doesn't feel like work because they're
Yep.
just hanging out. So
I feel like that's why we all do music, is because it is work,
yeah.
but it doesn't really feel like it to us.
Yeah, so it makes it worth it. But yeah, there's not a huge difference, I'd say, even with the regional shows I played.
Yeah.
I've kind of always played on the East Coast mainly.
Okay.
I played from Philly, New Jersey. I haven't played in Pittsburgh yet, but I might be playing there soon. But kind of just going down like all over DC. We're about to play in Maryland for the Eptic tour, North Carolina and Florida with my buddy Ben's mixer. But I mean, it's never kind of like deviated too far west, but hopefully hoping to change that soon.
Hell yeah. Before you joined Later Tonight, I guess go back to that question. Were you playing shows already, or did you not play a show until you got with management?
Yeah, the funny thing is I was actually at a show. I was in a room because I was playing a show, I think either that night or I played it the night before, but that's when Jake was calling me basically, click dick,
Yeah.
to trying to sell it to me, to join.
Yeah.
In my head, I was already sold at the time because I was like, we all live in the same area. I already like have collabs with half the people in the crew. Like we all go to each other's shows already. It's practically I was already in it, but now this is like the official
Yeah.
joining. So I was like, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't I? Like it's just a bunch of homies, and it's
Right.
just putting a name on it. I mean, as long as there's nothing negative associated with it, and no one's saying anything dumb on social media, like I'm fine.
I don't know another company that has like you guys are all like, not all of you guys have released on Subsidia and some bigger labels. Congrats on the 40-ounce release too that you just had.
Thank you.
But with all that stuff, like I feel like you guys are still like somewhat underground, but I don't think I don't know of any like other like powerful force of like a group and like a like almost like I don't know, what would you call Later Tonight, an agency? There's
Like
a management team. Yeah, collective. Like
So
there's
there used to be Rhythm Crews,
yeah. there's no one that I know of, at least, that's as powerful and has been like a force in the scene as much as you guys. Like you guys have like your whole
That's
roster is like
awesome.
stacked. You guys are all doing stuff. So
We're all trying. That's like the goal,
yeah,
to try to be around like-minded individuals who just keep pushing each other and just go right to each other for feedback, because
yeah,
we'll be straight up, there's not going to be sugarcoating. Like we won't get butthurt over each other's comments. Like we'll tell each other what's wrong and then grow and then move on, and
right.
try to work as efficiently as possible, but like still have fun with it.
What kinds of things do you think Later Tonight has like taught you since being a part of the whole team?
It's definitely good to be social, I'd say.
Yeah.
It's good to just like talk to anybody and everybody and just be friendly because you never know who the next guy is. Basically,
Right.
that's the main thing of just being more involved physically in the industry.
Have you grown substantially since joining the team or no?
I mean, I'd say so because I
Yeah.
just feel like the bigger difference is I look at it more businessy than
Right.
before, kind of have more plans for everything rather than like feeling like something is just kind of forced or rushed. Like you'll know when time you'll pay more attention to timing and things like that a lot more closely than before. So I'd say it's definitely helped me more than it's hurt me.
I feel like with the management too, now that you have an actual manager and stuff, it almost provides you with a little bit more opportunity, especially because they're plugged in with like Sullivan King with Lays and Excision with all the Subsidia releases that you guys have had.
Yeah, and it's just homies too, so it's like when we
Right.
go to each other's shows, that's another benefit is like we're all just homies. But if
Yeah.
one of our homies is on tour with someone and we go to one of their dates, now we're just hanging out with like all the people that we look up to in the dubstep scene, so it's just it works out when we're all just grinding and
Yeah,
like
feeding off each other.
exactly
I
happens.
feel like you were actually kind of already like on your path before you joined the team too.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm trying to say is
Yeah,
it's like they're either gonna be part of the journey or they're not, you know,
yeah,
like but either way, it's not like I'm gonna stop and there's probably either gonna be another entity or it's just gonna be continue to be solo and just be a usual or like a what you'd expect to be individual kind of like
right.
you know how the rappers are not like signed to labels,
Yeah,
they independent. Yeah, you feel more like that type of vibe, just doing it. But no, I can't complain with the way it's worked out because I mean I don't mind having Fastive as the main person to shit on me for feedback, you know. So
I love Sam. He's a great guy. Um,
yeah,
what would you suggest for people who might be in the position you were a few years ago, where they might be looking for a team? Like, it's obviously like you feel like you just answered that question of like, I don't feel like you didn't really feel like you needed them. But a lot of people like do feel like they're like to get to that next step, they need an agency or they need a manager. Like, what would you suggest those people should do if they're feeling like that?
yeah. If you're feeling, I mean, even I feel like I need an agency sometimes, you know, because
Right.
you know that agency can place you wherever you need to place you, and after the music's heard, it'll talk for it or speak for itself, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, if you're at an even smaller scale and you don't have as much of like a social presence or a following on whatever platform is you just have to cover your bases like if you're a producer like you need to have at least a decent or a handful of decent music that you can show to someone at any
Hmm.
time to prove that's what it is, you know, and you should be able to if you're a producer or DJ especially in the dubstep scene and you don't know how to mix properly, that's something that you need to get down. And then the other thing would be your branding too. You know, if you're
Yeah.
just a guy who does a bunch of edits and doubles with it and there's not really like a theme behind it, then it's not gonna be really set you apart from the next guy out and expecting someone to help you, especially when your workload isn't something that's out of hand. It's just kind of pointless, if anything, you know.
Yeah.
That's another bigger thing going into it is I get they can handle like your paperwork and stuff and like the boring work, but if they're not well connected in the industry or if they're not like, you know, involved in the side that you'd expect an agent type person to be involved in, then having an extra person isn't going to change the game for you. You know, it's not going to be like a magic secret
Yeah.
shortcut to the end. Like you still have to grind the whole way through.
What do you think are some like? Because I know even for me, like I get approached with opportunities, and once you get to a certain point, you start getting approaches from random
Yeah.
people you might not even know. What, in your opinion, what are some red flags that people should look out for when being approached by different agencies and labels and stuff like that?
Do your research
Yeah.
and then don't settle too quickly. Don't bite at your first offer, you know,
Yeah.
because that's really going to set you in your lane. You know, if like a bigger agency like UTA sees you sign to X label, you know, then they're gonna think, okay, well, he's in that tier now, and it's gonna be a lot harder for you to climb out of that, and you'll be happy with that kind of cap on your brand. Whereas if you decline that and you're open to options, and then some other label hears or some other agency hears that, decline that, it's more people talking. If you continue to grow independently, just a matter of time till the big fish sees you, you know, and then they'll want to put you on, and that's ultimately gonna do a lot better for you in the long run. So
Yeah.
I probably let's say patience is a virtue in this case.
Don't pigeon and try not to pigeonhole yourself either.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you think that people can put themselves in like the best position to get recognized? Like, how did you go about just networking yourself and putting yourself out there?
Yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
you have to do extra stuff, you know, you can't
Yeah.
just like do the bare minimum. Like, and a lot of it nowadays is a lot more of your brand than the actual music, you know. Like, if you don't have something to put out there and you're complaining about people not seeing your stuff or you're not getting booked, that's all hurting you. You just have to start doing some of that stuff, like start making some cringe TikToks once in a while, you know.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. You don't have to do all that, but you know what I mean. Like,
Dance on
you gotta,
TikTok. That's how you win. That's how you win in
you gotta
2022.
like,
Is dance
you
on
gotta have
TikTok.
a personal relationship with your community. Like they have
Right.
to recognize the face of the brand or like whatever gimmick you have, like a helmet or whatever, like kind of like set something to have something to set you apart from the start so they know what you're getting or have like a certain type of sound so they know when they hear that it's you. Like anything to really do a little more than the next guy, you know, it's like a sport. You train more in the off season. You just gotta keep working more, do different things so you're reaching to people on all different platforms, you know, not everyone on Facebook's on Twitter, vice
Right.
versa. So you definitely gotta do your work on all bases for sure.
Right. I think you've done a fantastic job at building your own community around your RAK project. Because I
Thank
see
you.
I see you doing putting in a lot of work on your Facebook group, which a lot of people don't even have a Facebook group to begin with.
Yeah,
You see some of
another
the bigger
reason why I
guys.
started it.
Yeah. What was like your initial like idea behind like when you did start that? Because it hasn't been too long. I think I was like I was one of the first people that you invited into that
Yeah,
group.
you're probably like the first 100. I just knew that following the people I follow, they all had that community already, and I figured it's better to start it now than later because it's gonna have more time to grow. Plus, the people that are watching me kind of come up will appreciate me more and see more of my growth and more of my development. So it just made sense. I know I'm already gonna have it. So what am I waiting for? You know, so it's a matter of just getting the artwork together, getting a little bio together, just doing what I need to do to get it up and going, just to start it rather than waiting. You know.
How much has it grown since? When did you start that? You started that what, like 6 months ago, maybe?
I don't even know.
Something like
It's
that.
not too high. It's like
Two,
220,
300. Okay.
230 or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like definitely under 300. But the people that are in there, they typically engage on my regular posts anyways, you know. So it's
Right.
like now they're really gonna be not like forced to see, but they're gonna have a higher chance of seeing the stuff I post through that.
One thing that I like about Facebook groups is like it notifies people when like the admins post too. So whenever you post an announcement in there, like everyone gets a notification to like, oh, he posted something. So I see all the time my like notifications says like RAK posted in
Yeah,
RAK Mafia.
you can see who like viewed it, you know. You can see like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, damn, you viewed my shit and you didn't like
Yeah.
it. You
Yeah. What the
know, you
hell?
chat him later about it, right?
I know there's a lot of challenges obviously along everyone's journey. Obviously I have an entire podcast built around the idea of discovering the challenges and finding out how people have overcome them. But in specific, what challenges have you personally had to overcome within your own journey?
That's it. There's a couple key main things, but I say like the top two I can think of, like off the top of my head, be one would be the workflow, like figuring out how you can efficiently almost treat it like a day job, but like to the point where you like at a daily, like there's a minimum you got to put in almost every day, like at least daily, just a little bit, just so you're always sharp and you're not starting to get rust on you, you know.
Yeah.
So there's a minimum that you need, and if you have an easy workflow, it doesn't even feel like work, you know. It's just like you quickly just have fun with it and pump out an idea and just keep the machine going. But the other thing,
Back to why you use Ableton,
yeah,
right?
exactly, it all
Yeah.
ties together. So it's just like it made sense, and now I'm here. But yeah, other than that, the other thing was like a challenge, I would say, starting out at least. If you're not talking to as many people, or if you're not on like in a Discord with a server with like-minded producers or people you can like talk to for feedback and whatnot, and it makes it a lot more challenging to figure out who you are. You know, if no
Yeah.
one's really talking about you and you're not talking to anybody that's involved in the community or in the scene that you're trying to be an artist in, then it's going to really slow down that growth. So I'd say being involved in any way possible, whether it's like being in a crew or being in a collective or just in a group chat, a Discord server,
Right.
whatever, all that little bit of just like like one conversation can help.
And I guess that's what's good about being a part of a team too, is that you have that
Definitely.
instant people, and all those people are like your
Yeah,
core
we're all
human
talking
base.
about each
Yeah,
other, you know, we're all
yeah,
supporting each other. We all play each other's music in our set. So it already makes sense, you know.
yeah.
So, like, why wouldn't we talk about each other?
One thing that you mentioned too before the interview is you brought up having confidence in your work. Did you lack confidence more around your producing, or did you lack confidence more around your performing, or both?
No, I think it's confidence from dealing with a lack of support.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and then a lack of acceptance from labels early on in your career. So those are that's what I'd say confidence wise, because you're confident in the work usually. You know, you're not gonna post it if you're not
Right.
confident in it. But it was more of losing confidence from seeing stuff not do numbers or seeing a
Yeah.
label they know or not respond or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. That's what kills your confidence. But that's a part of the process, you know.
It
It's
is.
like everybody's got to go through it, unless you got money out the ass and you're paying for promo. But other
Yep.
than that, you're going through it.
And a lot of us do not have that money, especially if we started at a young age. It's just we have to.
Yeah, you're just doing what you gotta
We're on the
do.
long haul. How did you manage to overcome like that? Like, did later tonight help you in any way of like overcoming that lack of confidence and pitching yourself to labels and stuff like that, or did you kind of take that upon yourself? What did that process of overcoming that feeling look like?
Well, it was just like before I joined later tonight, even I was already talking to more
Yeah.
and more producers. Kind of that's like when ever since I got my last job taken care of,
Yeah, yeah,
like I was just right back in it, diving back in it, and they just happened to be at throwing shows at the local venue, like 30 minutes from my house. I'm like, why would I not go there? You
yeah.
know, I've already engaged with them online, and the first
Yeah.
time I saw Jay Cliptic was at a show where he's playing one of my songs, so I automatically had a good impression of him. You know, I'm like,
I like
so
this guy. He
supporting.
plays my music.
Me, it's like, yeah, that's a good sign off the bat. And even Layla Lays, she accidentally loaded one of her sets on Record Box, you know, and like one of the first songs in there was that same track that he was playing too. So
Nice.
it's funny to see that we already knew each other
Yeah.
before we even kind of got together. So it's just like we're all the same age. We all have been supporting each other's music. So it's kind of it's a small world, really.
Yeah. How did you feel once you began to feel more confident and you had some label releases and you had stuff like that? Did it begin to make you feel better about the direction that you're taking your project?
For sure, it makes it
Yeah.
feel more real, you know, when you get to
Yeah.
play a show, or if you hear anybody that you look up to play your music at their shows, like it definitely boosts your confidence,
Yeah.
and then sharing that and seeing other people see you experience that, no, it definitely puts you on an upwards trend of more positivity, you know.
How does it feel when you see like your friends when like the other later tonight team, like how does that feel to you when you see them like when Sam got on stage with company at
It's
Lost Lands, like
crazy,
shit like
dude.
that, like yeah.
You're like, what is going on,
Yeah.
dude? Like literally, like
We're all gonna make it.
yeah, like 6 months ago, you're like, dude, you could never imagine something like that. And
Yeah.
now I was just chilling with Leotrix and G Rex the other day. You
Yeah.
know, it's like I'd never imagined just hanging out with them and like seeing them and like us being a little tipsy. You know, I'd
Yep.
say at least. And it's a cool experience seeing them perform while having followed these people for the longest time and like
It's like you gotta
learn
like
from
rub your
them
eyes and
too.
be like, is this real life right now? Like, are these
Yeah,
people
no,
really in front of me?
yeah, it's insane, and like it just makes it feels more, it makes it feel more real knowing that
Yeah.
we're all doing the same thing. It's just like more of a reason to continue going, you know.
If someone came to you and they weren't feeling confident in what they were trying to do in music, how would you handle that? What would you tell them?
We figure out why, you know, what are the
Yeah.
weak points? Like, is it the music that's doing
Yeah.
that? Is it the label that said that no, it doesn't fit our vibe doing that? Or is it you get no engagement? Is it because the music's not there and you're just promoting the crap out of it before
Yeah.
it sounds good enough? Like there's a lot of things that could play in it. You guys just gotta like analyze it case by case,
Yeah.
but just focus on that weak spot and
What
take
would you say your weak
weak
spot,
spot.
your main weak spot was for that?
Mine, I would say, was that like was a social presence
Okay.
and just building it, especially on like Instagram, on
Yeah.
social. It's just posting more content, just like more regular content, not even music related. And
That is, yeah, that is
you
something I had to learn along the way too. Is like you
got to do
posting just
that.
personal stuff. You look at all, you look at the bigger brands and stuff like that. Excision doesn't do quite as much of that, I feel like, but like you look
Doesn't
at like,
detail anymore, but yeah, he'll do
so
it once in a
yeah, it's
while.
Soul of a King or Wooly or any of those guys that like have stories up every day and like putting their actual just who they are as people, like people can connect with that a lot better.
Yeah, it's kind of just like vlogging your life a little more, basically, just
Yeah.
documenting more of your life, basically, is what I've
Yep.
been doing. And like, so I mean, it doesn't feel like a big change, honestly, because I like showing off the whip I just started, you know, and then seeing it like a couple months later, dropping and releasing, and just kind of seeing the whole process happen in front of him, rather than worrying if someone's like a ghost producer for him,
Right.
etc. You know.
Right. I think in my opinion, it's one of the most important aspects of success, especially if you're an introvert. Are you an introvert personally?
Yeah, when I was younger, I
Yeah.
definitely wasn't one to talk as much, but
This is a hard industry to get into if you're an introvert. Like, luckily for me, like
yeah,
I feel like I'm more of an extrovert. I can talk to people. It's easy for me, but I feel for the people, especially. And I know, I feel like a lot of producers are more, especially like the bedroom producers are like, I don't know. I just like making music and I like staying in my room. Like, I don't like talking to people. This is like what I like to do. And that's why
exactly.
why a lot of producers are big gamers and stuff like that too. Um, did you have to go through like almost like a psyche change almost to go from like dealing with being an introvert, but like knowing that you have to put yourself out there?
So the good thing about my last job was that it made me become an extrovert, basically. Like I
That's good.
had to be on the phone
Yeah.
constantly. I had to talk to people to make money. So
Yeah.
it really made me better in that department. So like that break I took off, I wasn't focused on production, but I was gaining way better social skills and kind of coming back into it. It was kind of using those skills in this industry. And it kind of just, I think it worked out for the better. So there wasn't a point where it was like I had to switch up. It was like I was already changed from the job, and then I was just continuing to do what I was doing music wise, but
Yeah.
now I'm just engaging more with the community.
If you would have never overcome that, where do you think your life would be at right now? If it wasn't for you learning how to become an extrovert and put yourself out there and grow, like actually learn the proper techniques to grow your brand, where do you think you'd be at right now?
I think I definitely have a way smaller following.
Yeah.
I have a lot less content to post on social media for sure. It would be more just music, but then that kind of puts you in the bucket of more of like a typical person. You know, it's gonna be hard
Yeah.
to set you apart. So I definitely would have less chance of being on the podcast with you right now. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
Exactly.
And thank you so much for being here. I'm gonna wrap it up because we're running out of time here. But I'm really glad we were able to make this happen. As you've been on my wait list for quite a long time now. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, for sure.
Before we
No,
get out of
but
here, I have a couple final questions, rapid questions for you. One is, what are you most excited about coming up for you this year?
this year,
Yeah,
so I
that you
can't
can
say too
that you
much.
can give away.
Obviously, for some releases, I'll say one of them is on Subsidia, but the other
Sick.
one is on a label that it's someone that I've looked up to for a while, getting into this whole game that supported
Awesome.
me forever. So it's gonna be cool. It should be a bigger body of work too, not just a single on a label I looked up to. So that's the main thing I'm looking forward to. And
That's
I
awesome.
think things like that definitely help your, like
Congrats.
a producer resume to
Yeah.
really show people that don't know you that yeah, I do take it seriously,
Yeah. Congrats on that. Is there any shows coming up for you in the near future?
Yeah, as of right now, the only one I can say is the Epic one that I have
Okay.
later tonight, back for back. But if you live in the DMV, hope y'all are popping out for that. It's gonna be Cliptic, Fastif, myself, and Razor.
Oh, all the
All
boys are
going back to
playing.
back. It's just gonna be all of our like IDs basically
Oh,
for
I
like
actually saw you guys post about that, I think, on Twitter.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
saw it on there, but
Sick.
yeah, it's on the Eptics tour, and there's obviously all the bigger support acts too, like Yuki, Leo Tricks, Uber, Digital
Possibly,
Ecos.
possibly collab between you guys in the works to showcase that night.
I don't know. There's only
I don't
one way
know.
to
We'll see.
find out, right?
Go to the show to find out.
I don't know. You gotta
Where,
show up.
where can the listeners find you at and follow you?
I mean, all of my socials have the same at. It's Rack Dubs. So RAKDUBC. So like, so SoundCloud is gonna have more of like the free downloads and like the stuff you can't put on streaming services. So
Yeah.
when you hear everything, SoundCloud is definitely the goat for it, but it'll be everywhere else as well. Apple Music,
Excellent.
Spotify, whatever everyone's using.
Awesome. Final question. I ask this at the end of every interview. If there's one piece of advice you could give yourself when you first had the idea that you wanted to become a musician, what would it be and why?
Just keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah. No, I'm glad I kept going too, because
Yeah.
looking back, I'm really happy I didn't decide to do anything else, and everything else I did decide to do was an on the side thing just to pay the bills until there's enough of a income from the music business to fill that
Make it a
role.
full thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
And no, thank you.
Have a good one.
Peace out.